Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Thanks so much for being with us. And Adam, we have a chock-full show today. Tar Heels beat Northeastern 82-62. We're going to talk about that. But the Tar Heels, not the only Carolina team out there in action right now. A ton of stuff going on around Carolina Athletics. Championships, big conference wins, #1 ranked teams. We're going to talk about all of that here coming up in just a little bit. We have our social drive coming up. And Adam, no big deal. You just chatted with another national champion. That's just kind of how it is here around Chapel Hill.
Yeah, we really appreciate Simon Soendergaard giving us some time. Last week it was women's tennis that was a national champion. This week, men's tennis that was a national champion. As Jones said, top-ranked teams galore all across campus in Chapel Hill right now.
We'll get to all that in just a second, but Adam, let's start with the most recent contest by a Carolina team, and that was just last night as the Tar Heels topped Northeastern in the Smith Center 82-62. And look, obviously this was a unique game. It was scheduled earlier this week. It got scheduled because of a tweet that Carolina sent out saying they were looking for an opponent to play because Virginia Tech had to back out of, or had to not participate in the game that was scheduled due to COVID problems within the Hokie program. But Adam, and we talked about this a little bit on the video pod last night, the Rapid Reactions pod after the game. There's value to games like this. And in a normal season, Carolina would have played a handful of these type of games against a team that the Tar Heels are more talented than, that you expect Carolina to win the game, but you let your young guys play. They may mess up, but you keep them out there. They play a little bit more and they figure it out. I just thought it was a really beneficial game. Whether it's going to trampoline the Tar Heels to heights this year, I don't know, but it just felt like a game that was good for the Tar Heels to play and win.
You mean like November and December games? Those are the games Carolina didn't get to play. They got the win. I think you really have to credit both Carolina and Northeastern for playing the game because Northeastern didn't have to come down to Chapel Hill. Carolina, Roy Williams, Clint Gwaltney didn't have to work so hard to get this game. But I think as it unfolded, you saw the reason why it was so important for Roy Williams, who has said consistently both before this game and after this game, he wants to play games, preferably home games. That's just Carolina's 7th game in the Smith Center this season. And they learned from it. You got something out of that other than just a win.
A really good performance by Carolina's bench. They finished with 40 bench points in the game. Walker Kessler had the most points and rebounds he's had in a single game as a Tar Heel. Day'Ron Sharp, who of course is used to playing heavy minutes coming off the bench, but he ended up being Carolina's leading scorer in the game with 15. Andrew Platek, when Carolina was a little bit just kind of zombieing around a little bit in the first half, he came in, gave them a nice spark off the bench, gave them 9 points in the first half. So a lot of different guys came in and I thought contributed.
And that could be beneficial down the road if a Tar Heel ends up in foul trouble. Maybe a Walker Kessler has to play big minutes. Maybe Day'Ron Sharp has to play starter-type minutes. Maybe Andrew Platek comes in and hits a big three-pointer or two. Maybe they trace it back to the game against Northeastern last night. So, again, I just really think you gain something from this. You can't play a game every single day, but it would really be nice to get in a habit of playing 2 games a week.
I thought kind of a sneaky, decent game for Caleb Love, and he did not shoot the ball well in the game. He was just 2 of 8 with 6 points, did not make a three-pointer, but he had 2 early turnovers. After that, did not turn it over again after the first 4 or 5 minutes. Finished with 9 assists. That's the most he's had this season. Had 3 steals as well. He had a difficult defensive assignment against Tyson Walker, the really talented guard from Northeastern. Just felt like a pretty solid performance. We talked to him on the audio pod last week. He talked about trying to not let his shooting dictate the way that he played in other areas. I thought he did a good job of that tonight.
And he talked about how he was learning how to play point guard the way Roy Williams wants it. Well, Roy Williams wants a fast tempo, a high number of assists, and a low number of turnovers. And Carolina got pretty close to all those 3 things on Wednesday night. No, he didn't shoot it great. But I think it's good to have the illustration that you can not shoot it great and still have a pretty good performance because that's what Caleb Love did.
That's right. What am I talking about? That game was last night that the Tar Heels beat Northeastern.
Yeah.
Oh, Jones. All this winter weather's got me all mixed up. So the Tar Heels win at 82-62. All right, a lot of other stuff going on around Carolina athletics as well. Adam, let's get to it, and we'll start with men's tennis. And just 1 week after the women take home the ITA Indoor National title, the guys said, we're going to do it too. And so they competed in Champaign, Illinois, won the Indoor National Championship, defeated Tennessee, Virginia, and then Baylor in the championship match. And Adam, what a week for Carolina men's tennis taking home that title.
Just the second time ever that the men and women's program at the same school have held the ITA indoor title. First time since 2000, that was Stanford that did it. And as you know, Jones, winners get the awards and the rewards. Yep. And so Brian Cernock, who was on the court and got the championship clinching point, is the ACC Player of the Week. Tar Heels also getting some honors in doubles with Cernock and our good friend, former pod guest, William Blumberg, as the doubles Players of the Week.
And then as Adam mentioned, and as we referenced, the women won that title 2 weekends ago, and the first time since Stanford in 2000 that the same school captures the ITA Indoor National title for both the men and the women. So congratulations to both those programs. Brian Calbus, the head coach on the women's side, Sam Paul for the men, and certainly they and we are looking forward to seeing them move through NCAA play here over the next several months. All right, both those teams, by the way, ranked number 1 in the nation. Men's lacrosse is number 2 in the country, and they have had a great start to the year. 3-0 thus far. That includes wins over Jacksonville and number 15 High Point here in recent days. And how about Chris Gray, the 2-time now ACC Player of the Week? He is number 3 in the country in goals per game, number 2 in points per game. The Tar Heels in total lead the nation in goals per game. Adam, they've been a fun team to watch, putting up a bunch of points every single match so far.
And nice to see Chris Gray get to do exactly what he's been looking forward to doing ever since transferring to Carolina before the 2020 season. Then, of course, that came to an untimely end. But, boy, he's picked up right where he left off in 2021.
Let's go from the guys, they're number 2, as we mentioned, in the nation, to the women on the lacrosse side. They are number 1 in the country. They started their season with a victory over number 6 Stony Brook, and they have a big weekend coming up. The Tar Heels taking on number 7 Florida and also High Point coming up this weekend, and some more big challenges for them. And congratulations to goalkeeper Taylor Marino. She had 10 saves in the win over Stony Brook and was named both the ACC and National Defender of the Week. So a lot of success there for the tennises and the lacrosses as they are getting going with their spring schedules. Let's go women's basketball, Adam. They got a win last weekend on the road against Pittsburgh. Significant for the Tar Heels, their first win ever in women's basketball at Pitt. Maybe even a bigger deal with this particular team, their first road win of the season as Courtney Banghart continues to try to build this program.
Well, and it's bracketology time of year. It's bubble talk time. And women's basketball seems to be right on that bubble, needs to string together a few wins here as they head towards the end of the season. And how do you do that, Jones? You get up extra shots. Kennedy Todd Williams on an off day here. Jones, where's she from?
Oh, she's from Jacksonville, North Carolina, where the finest are from.
Is she a Fighting Cardinal?
Oh, she is definitely from Jacksonville High School. That's how we do it down there. We take it seriously. So good to see Kennedy getting some extra work in. She and the rest of the Tar Heels competing tonight, 7 o'clock. Carolina is at Clemson for their next matchup. Okay, some other sports, just as if that wasn't enough. Some more sports getting started. That includes Carolina baseball. It has been a challenge for first-year head coach Scott Forbes just to get his season started. Originally, Carolina was supposed to take on Kentucky in its opening weekend. Kentucky had some COVID issues. Tar Heels had to change that game. Now they are scheduled to face James Madison in a 3-game set starting on Friday, but there are some weather issues in the Virginia-North Carolina corridor, so weather permitting, that series is going to happen this weekend in Chapel Hill. Also, softball is starting its season. The softball team was anticipating starting last week. That ended up getting postponed due to weather problems, so they're hosting an ACC pod here in Chapel Hill. They'll be joined by Boston College and Syracuse. So the Tar Heels scheduled to play 3 times against BC, 3 times against Syracuse, and then Syracuse and BC will play each other 3 times.
All those games Also subject to weather, trying to fit them all in between today and Sunday. But at least like the creativity on behalf of the ACC, coming up with something a little different to try to get more league games in.
One more push here before we get to our interview. We'll start with wrestling. A ranked win for Coleman Scott's team against Virginia this past weekend. That included Joe Heilman being named ACC Wrestler of the Week at 133 pounds. There's Joe. Congratulations to him. And gymnastics picked up a ranked victory as well, topping NC State. The women will now have a quad meet this weekend where they're competing against LIU Brooklyn, Towson, and Pitt. Adam, there is a lot going on. I feel like we need a breather. What a perfect time for you to chat a little tennis.
Jones, take a break.
I will take this one
I
off.
got this. I'm at one with the people of Denmark, so I will talk to Simon Soendergaard, a Carolina national champion with men's tennis. We talked about it right at the beginning. Jones will go take a little break, but he'll be back for the social drive after we catch up with Simon Soendergaard. You cannot walk across campus these days without hitting a tennis national champion. As you know, the Carolina women's team won the ITA National Indoors last weekend. Men's tennis team went up to Champaign, Illinois, did the exact same thing this weekend. We're joined now by Simon Soendergaard, one of those national champions. Simon, congratulations. What was the weekend like for you and the Tar Heels?
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great feeling. It's been a long time coming, especially for the fifth-year seniors. We've been really close to winning it a few times, and finally getting it done is a terrific feeling.
As a team, as you just said, you've always played well in this event, but this is just the second national championship for the men's team. What made the difference this year that enabled you to get over that hump?
I think being in the final last year, we didn't really play in the moment. We were thinking too much about it being the final, and I think we learned a lot from those mistakes last year. And then going into the tournament this year, we really have focused a lot on focusing on the right things, and we wanted to be there and really compete if we were lucky enough to or good enough to get to the final.
We talked about this some with Elizabeth Scotty last week. Their championship match started very late at night. Your championship match started very late at night. What's it like to just sit around all day Sunday knowing at some point you're going to play for a national championship?
Yeah, especially because the two other days, as you said, we played around noon. So it was definitely a change having to take a nap during the day and kind of just sit around not knowing exactly when we were going to start. And I think some of us had to kind of throw some cold water in our faces and kind of wake up a little bit before the match, because it can be easy, especially in the doubles point where everything goes so fast that you got to be ready from the first point. So I think we managed to do a good job there, even though it could have been easy to maybe start out on the wrong foot.
You mentioned doubles. You're part of one of the top doubles pairs in the nation. What makes a good doubles player?
Well, I think there's many ways to be a good doubles player, but I think at least for Mag and I, it's our fourth season together, and we just really know everything about one another. We don't even have to talk that much to each other when we're playing. We just know I'm gonna do this, Mag's gonna do that, and it just kind of harmonize really well. So we just trust each other completely and know what each other are going to do on the court.
Now, not that you're looking for a new doubles partner, but you did say that your ideal doubles partner would be Conor McGregor. How do you think he would play doubles?
I think he would probably do some more trash talking than Mag and I are doing, but he would maybe be a little bit more aggressive than we are. But yeah, I think I'm doing good with Mag too.
Now, how does a young man from Denmark find the University of North Carolina to play tennis?
I have a friend who we actually used to play at UNC. He graduated in 2015, I think. So as you said, especially for a foreigner, it's hard to know exactly what to look for when you are going to the US and choosing a college. So But what really stood out for me about UNC was obviously academically it's a really good school, but athletically as well. And then kind of trusting what my friend was saying about the school and trusting that the coaches were going to be a good pick for me really stood out. And I trusted that what he was saying was right. And I am really happy that I made the decision.
What was the biggest cultural change in moving from Denmark to Chapel Hill?
Well, I think just growing up, I've always been used to traveling all around Europe, all around the world, but just, I guess, doing everything by myself and also doing everything in a second language, which kind of the hardest thing for me. I came into my first semester 2 weeks late, so I kind of had to rush into things a little bit. I had some issues with my visa, so I kind of had to adjust perhaps quicker than others to the situation. But just I think in the beginning was more the language barrier, having to think and talk in English all the time.
Now, of course, the stakes are high at a national championship because you're playing for a national title. Our sources have told us the stakes may have been even higher for you. Did you agree to grow a mullet if the Tar Heels won the ITAs?
Well, I might have agreed to it, but I got a haircut yesterday, so I guess we'll see if the mullet's really going to happen or not. But yeah, I did agree to it, but we'll see if it's going to happen or not.
Who was the instigator of the mullet agreement?
It was Rinky Hijikata, our Australian fella who is rocking the mullet currently.
Do you feel like that's a pretty strong mullet? Do you feel like you can compete with that level of mullet ability?
I think that might be one of the reasons why I'm doubting it right now, because it wouldn't be nice to have the second best mullet on the team, you know.
That's exactly right. I mean, you don't want to play number 2 mullet. You want to be the top mullet in the league.
Exactly.
Simon, what is it about Sam Paul that has enabled him? Carolina men's tennis has always been good, but here lately they've been national title contender good. What has he done that's enabled the program to take that next step nationally?
I think that Coach Paul has been doing a really great job, and I think if you want to succeed as a team, you want everyone on the team to really get along and harmonize together. You don't want too many individuals on the team, and I think he's been doing a great job together with Tripp, kind of making us a unit and making us work toward the same goal. And it doesn't matter if you're playing in the lineup or not. Everyone has an important part to play, and I think that was one of the keys why we did so well this weekend.
Simon, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on the national championship. Looking forward to watching the Heels the rest of the season. And congratulations on a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate Simon's time. All of our interviews here on the Carolina Insider brought to you by our friends at Coca-Cola, which taste better together. Speaking of together, Adam and I will co-pilot this social drive as we move around social media, find some relevant Tar Heel topics. Adam, let us start with men's basketball and a soon-to-be Tar Heel already committed, signed all the papers. That's DeMarco Dunn, and good to see DeMarco have a big game here recently, put up nearly 40 in a win here over the last week.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago with Dontrez Styles. You just love having these in-state Tar Heels who understand a little something about playing for the University of North Carolina. It's been a challenge, though, Jones, with the different recruiting rules. It's been a dead period for almost a full year now. So Roy Williams not able to get out at this time of year like he normally would to go see these signed recruits.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to talk to Coach about that, and he said that they're trying their best to keep communication going with their recruits, with their commitments, and that Steve Robinson is the point man for both Dontrez Styles and DeMarco Dunn, and so Coach Robinson and also Coach Williams doing their best to chat with those guys, a lot of FaceTime, a lot of Zoom, that kind of stuff, doing their best to stay in contact, keep up with their seasons, see how they're doing, and good to see DeMarco have a great game. Looking forward to seeing him here in Chapel Hill soon. Somebody who is in Chapel Hill now, a member of the Carolina basketball coaching staff. Adam, you found this one out there in social media land where picked up on Kendall Marshall.
Great Twitter name, Hoope Fiasco. Throwing it back to one of his favorite Lakers, Kendall Marshall. Sometimes people forget Kendall was very successful with the Lakers. He had a 20-point, 15-assist game in his first start for the Lakers and then handed out 17 assists in the next game. Ended up averaging almost 9 assists during his 45-game Laker career. And as you see here, he wasn't just throwing passes, he was also scoring a little bit too.
Kendall Marshall had a successful professional career, played with a couple different teams, the Suns, the Sixers in there as well. And Kendall, a big part of Carolina basketball now. Good to see him on the staff. And Roy Williams has always said one of the smartest players as far as basketball IQ that he's ever coached.
And we had a chance to talk to Caleb Love last week, and Caleb talked about how helpful Kendall has been to him in just learning the expectations of playing point guard under Roy Williams, and feels like that's been very beneficial. One
Tar Heel still in the NBA right now that we wanted to mention, Adam, is Theo Pinson. Theo, a member of the New York Knicks. And all right, so this is something you may recognize, Theo crashing a post-game interview. Let's take a look here.
5 more assists. Well, there's a number of players waiting to be part of the post-game interview. Let's go to Rebecca right now.
This man is not an all-star, it's a problem.
Oh, yes, that's right, Mike. Julius is.
So that's Theo standing for his teammate Julius Randle and his ability to be an all-star this year. But Adam, we've seen this before.
Where my name at, though?
You guys don't have to put up with him. I have to put up with him every daggum day. Yeah, you're doing a nice job, Theo.
Okay, I was just going to check on.
Yeah, I appreciate you. It's like I told you, I never have to congratulate him. He congratulates himself. I've been coaching 28 years. I've never had one freaking player to walk up in the middle of a damn press conference.
So that was in Philadelphia on the way to the 2016 National Championship game for the Tar Heels. So Theo, just being Theo, Adam.
I don't think that'll ever not be funny. That was really the first time he had done it. When he did it after that, sometimes it wasn't quite as funny. That time, funny every time. Looked like the Knicks appreciated it as well.
One of the gentlemen you saw up there on the podium for the Tar Heels was Justin Jackson. And Justin, after the first part of the year, not getting a ton of opportunity with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he started to see some more playing time, and he is emerging in a big way. You see there on the graphic, back-to-back games with more than 20 points, and that included the game-sealing shot for the Thunder in a victory over Milwaukee. Let's just enjoy that camera right there. A gorgeous look at a shot there for Justin Jackson against the Bucks. And then coming up next, let's take a look and listen to this, again, the game-sealing shot. Justin was then talked to after the game, and this is what he had to say about how he's been playing here as of late.
When it looks so just in the flow, but tell me about that dagger 3 late.
I think it was one of those things where the shot clock was running down. Bays somehow caught the ball without it going out of bounds and passed it to me, and I just stepped into it with confidence. Obviously, you saw how the bench and everybody else reacted, so for me, it's just going out there and playing with confidence because I know my teammates have my back. So if I can do that, that's all I can do.
Hey, back-to-back games, you set a season high. You are taking advantage of the opportunities you've gotten. What kind of example are you trying to set for some of these younger guys on this team?
Just to be able to stay ready. I didn't play much at the very beginning of the season, but for me, I try to strive on being a true professional, and always trying to stay ready and take advantage of the opportunities that I have. And obviously, coaches giving me some free reign and giving me the ability to go out there and play now, so I'm just trying to take advantage of it.
Great to see Justin Jackson having some success, and good to see Nasir Little healthy. He has battled some illness and injury problems this year, starting to get on the court a little bit more now for the Portland Trail Blazers. And Adam, we always knew Nasir Little could do things like this.
Gracious. That was a very athletic play. I want to go back to Justin Jackson and the fact that he is the veteran on that Thunder team. Are the other guys in grade school in Oklahoma City? It makes me feel very old that Justin Jackson is teaching the younger players like Nasir Little, I guess, and maybe Kobe White a little something.
I was going to say, speaking of getting a little bit older, big week for Kobe White. He had his 21st birthday. Gosh, already in the league now and having success in his second year and only 21 years old. Happy birthday to Kobe. That was Tuesday of this past week, and he decided he better have a pretty good ball game if he's going to have a birthday week. The Bulls taking on, as you see, the Indiana Pacers there. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists in the game for Kobe. And Adam, just a terrific Tar Heel story. Of course, always glad to see Kobe doing well.
I know we've mentioned this before, but Kobe White would be a junior on this Carolina team right now. And if he was at Carolina, we would even let him play in HD.
That was Adam from the corner that you couldn't see, reining in that three from the left corner. So speaking of birthdays, Adam, not just Kobe White turning 21, but also on Wednesday of this week. This can't be right. Michael Jordan is 58 years old now. Gracious.
Getting close to 60, which I imagine will be a big celebration out there in sports land for Michael Jordan, but he's starting to diversify his portfolio a little bit. We know about his exploits with the Hornets, but also getting involved with racing and Bubba Wallace, who led a lap at Daytona, as you know, this past weekend, Jones. Michael Jordan also just donated $10 million to open 2 health clinics in Wilmington, of course, his hometown. So Michael Jordan got his hand in a lot of things going on right now.
Michael Jordan, not the only Tar Heel, by the way, invested in NASCAR here. Antonio Williams, former Tar Heel running back, just now getting in to a part of a NASCAR team as well. And Antonio really found some success late in the season with the Buffalo Bills, who had a terrific season in total. So cool to see both Michael Jordan and Antonio Williams getting involved in NASCAR. All right, let's go. Speaking of football, let's go a little more football chatter here. We're going to start with our good friend Clint Gwaltney. So we had Clint on the audio pod earlier this week talking about some of the scheduling challenges that he is dealing with as the sport administrator for Carolina basketball. You see Rusty Sebastian here sent us a great old photo of Clint kicking a 50-yard field goal to beat Kentucky during his playing days at Carolina. Also, side note, Clint found us some Coca-Cola Zeros that have our names on them. So what up, Clint, for helping us out with that. And then, Adam, whoa, this one, what the worlds collide on this next one. Mac Brown on Friday Night Lights, one of our favorite TV shows from back in the day. This was pretty cool to see.
This is one of the best TV shows of all time. Of course, there's the book, there's the movie, there's the TV show. Can't go wrong with any of them. But Coach T on the TV show there with Coach Brown back in 2006. I vaguely remember him being on there, but I was just so amazed by Texas Forever that I wasn't thinking ahead to when Mac Brown might play an even bigger role in our lives.
So that was neat to see. And closing things out, Adam, we go to a former audio pod guest, Brian Tucker. You may say, who is Brian Tucker? So Brian was a journalism school grad here at Carolina. He was part of an improv group when he was here at UNC. He has had an incredible career, Saturday Night Live writer for more than a decade. He's been nominated for an Emmy 12 times, and he is now the co-executive producer, a brand new show called Keenan that debuted this week. Very funny guy, big Tar Heel, basketball in particular, fan and a Carolina grad. And again, a reminder, he was on the audio pod, I guess about maybe a year and a half ago or so that Brian joined us on the audio pod. So check it out if you haven't heard that one.
I'm going to guess it was on January 4th, 2019. That's one of Jones's favorite interviews because he got to do it by himself. But it really was a great interview. And if you don't know as much about Brian and his ties to Carolina and Saturday Night Live, well worth a listen. January 4th, 2019 on the audio pod.
That's right. There's so many pods. This is the video pod. That was on the audio pod. No matter how you're listening or watching, we appreciate you being with us. Look forward to as you remember from the first part of the show. We have a lot to talk about every single week, and we can't wait to do it again next week here on the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.